Supreme. And now, broadcasting live from Next Gen Conservative Central Command, it's the Whitfield Analysis. And your host is Sam Whitfield.
What? You're doing Saturday again? Yes, I am, folks. I'm back for another Saturday edition of the Whitfield Analysis. Don't worry, I'll be here tomorrow as well. But, I've got so much stuff to cover. I'm going to be talking about this IRS scandal today. The title of today's episode is Corruption Rant Day Part 1. And the reason I titled it that is because there's so much corruption in the government in terms of the White House, the IRS, God knows what else now. We can't ignore it anymore as citizens. It's really becoming absurd. And so I'm going to take today to discuss this IRS thing. I have some amazing audio from Ed Schultz, because I can't believe I'm going to say this, but even some of the liberals over at MSLSD do not are against what the IRS did. Like, I have a clip coming up later on. Rachel Maddow, Rachel Madcow, as we refer to her on the program. Jason gave me a lecture on that on the air. We call her Madcow. By the way, I call Ed Schultz Ed Schmuck. So, Ed Schmuck is the only one defending the IRS, even over MSLSD, which is amazing. I've got a clip on that coming up, and I've got an article relating to all this, so that's actually why I have the audio clips up. Now, Obama, in case you haven't heard, I don't know why you wouldn't be hearing about this, because if you haven't heard about this, you're living under a rock, my friend. And it's a pretty big rock if you haven't heard about this. But the IRS has been auditing Tea Party groups, and they've been we recently found out that they've been putting conservative groups under scrutiny for a number of years. And I've always had my suspicion that the government was watching us. But this confirms everything I now know to be true. And believe me, folks, I'm not happy about saying that my suspicions were true. I'm not. I don't want to be that guy today who says, oh, well, I was right. But unfortunately, I have to say that I was right. So, I wasn't exactly sure. I wasn't sure that it was the IRS, but I knew the government was watching us ever since Obama's taken office and ever since the Tea Party started. I've just had this suspicion that they've been, keeping us under surveillance. So this confirms everything I know to be true. And Jason and I talked a little bit about this on his show on Thursday. I called in, and he asked me a very he asked me a very disturbing question, which is if Obama gets away with this IRS scandal, which at this point, folks, it's looking like he is. He's already trying to shift the blame. He's already trying to separate himself from what happened here, folks. He is already trying to separate himself from what happened. And if he manages to do that, and if this thing goes away, we're in trouble. It's not a reality that I like to talk about, but it's a reality that's going to be coming down the pipeline unless we wake up as a country. Jason Veely, Caden Cowger, Stephanie Conway, and we can't be the only ones trying to reach our generation anymore. I mean, I know that there are other teen conservatives out there that are in high school and in college. I get that. But this goes back to my whole time and time again on my radio show. I've said this numerous times over the years. The conservative youth movement has to stand strong. Otherwise, we are going to fail as a country. I can't stress that enough. But I know that some of you guys are probably sick and tired of me sorry, blooper. I know that some of you guys are probably sick and tired of me talking about that. But it's scandals like the RS that are making me concerned about what's happening out there. In fact, I even have to wonder. I know we don't have one in the chat room yet. This was kind of all of a sudden, but I have to wonder at some level. Do young people really understand what a danger this is? You know, something occurred to me this morning too while I was eating breakfast slash lunch, because let's face it, it's summer vacation before I leave home and whatnot. So I'm out of school now and I'm sleeping in. So on occasion I'll sleep in until like 10 or 11, which for me that's actually sleeping in late, because when I was in school I used to have to get up at 5 in the morning. Yeah. It was not pretty. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. My point is, when I got up this morning, I was thinking out the founding fathers and how the whole reason, it wasn't the only reason, but one of the major reasons why the revolution happened, as everyone should know, is because we were being taxed without representation. And my immediate thought this morning was, well, there's a huge danger in us being taxed for our beliefs. Ladies and gentlemen, this is tyranny, and there's no other way for me to say that. That's the case. The IRS is being tyrannical, and I mean, that's the end of it. Now, you may think, well, Sam, why bring up an entire show on this? You just explained in 10 minutes or less what everyone knows. Well, hold on there for a sec. Because not everyone believes that the IRS was wrong in doing this. As I stated in the beginning of the program, Ed Schultz, or Ed Schmuck, as I call him, over at MSLSD, is he defended the IRS earlier this week. Now I have an article here from newsbusters.org that I'll post in the I'll post the link to this in the podcast description once this goes over to podcast. Okay, so Ed Schultz brought a position up, like, he's the only one I know who's defending the IRS right now. But I mean, I'm not really surprised because it's Ed Schmuck. So and Ed, I have to admit, as deranged as Ed is, the way he tries to shift the blame to conservatives on this, like, I'll read this to you in a sec, folks, but in this article, on his radio show, too, he essentially blames the Tea Party. And you'll hear this in just a sec because I also have the audio of this. But let me read this headline to you. And this is from Newsbusters. This is from the newsbusters.org website again. And the headline is Ed Schultz. IRS targeting Tea Party shows why the GOP should embrace Obama plan to simplify tax code. And this happened earlier this week. This was on May 14th when this article was published. Alright, first paragraph. Leave it to Ed Schultz to conjure up the most deranged spin yet in response to the Internal Revenue Service admitting to the undue scrutiny of the Tea Party groups. While many liberals have been critical of the Obama administration in the wake of the hardly surprising revelation, Schultz on his radio show yesterday was full-throated in his defense of the IRS, even to the point of making the absurd claim that it showed how conservatives should support President Obama's plan to simplify the tax code. Alright, so I have the audio of this, and the first time I heard this, I was on my iPad, and I had my earbuds in, and I literally thought that my earbuds were going to break or get damaged from the BS this guy is spewing. I mean, I had to check and make sure my whole entire iPad was okay, because the idiocy that this guy spews, it's really painful to listen to. But I'm pretty sure even like computers and tablets and iPhones that have to play this clip for us, I'm pretty sure that they're upset too. I mean, this is just outrageous. I'll play this twice because, I mean, I had to play this twice over just to show how much Ed Schultz was an idiot. I mean, it's unbelievable. Let's take a listen, shall we? This is Ed Schultz on May 13th, defending the IRS's actions and he's essentially shifting the blame to the conservatives. Let's take a listen. This is outrageous. There. Am I defending the IRS? Yes, I am. That's the first 15 seconds. That's all you need to know. I'm going to play the rest of this clip, though, and I'll play it in its full entirety over a couple times. This is really idiotic.
I am. I have been
Alright, stop the clip right there. Stop the tape, Mr. Producer. Well, I am Mr. Producer as well, so heh. Do you see how he immediately shifts the blame to the conservatives and the Republicans in Congress? Oh no, there's no corruption in the IRS whatsoever. This wouldn't happen if the Republicans were willing to play with Obama on this one. And I know that if he could, folks, he would somehow tie this thing to sequestration. I know he would. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Alright. Let's finish this clip, and then I'll play it again in its entirety. This is really absurd, but we've got to get through it. And I know, I apologize if you have to go get your barf bag. I know, don't blame me, blame MSNBC, or, I'm sorry, MSLSD. I felt like I should have been on drugs when I was listening to this clip the first time. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Alright. Alright, let me play the audio clip in full swing. I mean, I know it's going to make a couple of you guys puke. Believe me, I'm trying not to puke all over my my $200 some odd microphone, and I'm trying not to puke all over my MacBook. I know it's hard. But folks, we've got to you've got to bear with me here. Oh, we're also streaming over at Next Gen Conservative TV today. I've got the live video stream up, so yeah, I will try to not throw up, but for those of you watching the video, you might see me gagging a little bit. Alright.
Look, if you play by the rules, and if you do what you're supposed to do, an audit doesn't take very long. IRS agents are there for a reason. Am I defending the IRS? Yeah, I am. I am. I have been audited before. Wasn't any fun, but it was a necessary process. Once we got into it, they learned a lot about the way I do business, the way they do business, and it was good. Okay? I'm still alive, still here. Still got my home, still got everything else. I mean, life is good. This is how we run the government. Now, it's interesting. All of these righties who are out there upset about the actions of the Internal Revenue Service, are they going to dare side with President Obama, who's wanted to simplify the tax code for a long time? Are you willing to start taking out all these corporate gifts out of the tax code, which, of course, this is exactly what the Internal Revenue Service is doing. They're going after corporations, and they're also going after groups that are set up after Citizens United to find out where the money is, to find out how they're spending, to find out what they're doing. So let's all get on board with the president who wants to simplify the tax code. Now they're bitching about being audited because the Internal Revenue Service has come out and said, well, I guess we need to apologize because we have gone after some groups that have got the name Patriot in them, and also freedom fighters, whatever the hell it is. Look, all of these groups came up because of Citizens United. A lot of new rules went into place in the way they are operating, as different in the political climate. The Internal Revenue Service has every right to go after anybody in this country who collects a dime.
Okay, first of all, you gotta love... I mean, this is kind of funny. There is one funny point at the end of that clip where he references Freedom Works and calls them freedom fighters, and then gets mad. Okay, this guy has, at least, from what I've seen him, he's always tried to portray himself as, some moderate or some sort. Now, maybe he's changed over the past couple of years. The last time I actually really paid attention to this guy was about 6 years ago, before I started doing my radio show. So, and I really didn't even pay much attention to him then. Maybe he's become a little more transparent. If that's the case, I actually appreciate that. But, I mean, he's just barking up the wrong tree here. Now, folks, I'm going to go back to the article. But what's funny is later on, he has guests on who do not agree with him at all. And it's actually pretty funny to watch this take place. So, going back to the article. Alright, so... Okay, so... So basically, this whole entire article, I'll post it to the... I'll post it to the website, but most of this article is just like a transcript of what I'm already playing on the show. So, I guess there's a second clip of this, and the way maybe I misread this article, but the way the second segment comes in, I guess I know for a fact that he started catching hell on Twitter after he made that statement. So then, this was on his radio show too, don't forget. So his radio show goes on a commercial break or something similar like that. And then he comes back on air, and then he says this on his radio show. Let's take a listen.
I mean, there's a reason why the IRS came out and said what they said. Because somebody inside said, hey, wait a minute, all right? We got to police ourselves a little bit about how we're doing this. And the answer that...
And you see how he stutters? Do you hear how he stutters? He always does that when he's nervous. Let me back that up real quick. You guys really ought to catch that. Okay, let me back that up. And
because
It was more than just categorizing. It was not categorizing, folks. It was surveillance. Ed Schultz is lying about that. And he said, well, it looks like it's surveillance on the surface. Well, yeah. It looks like surveillance on the surface because that's what it is. That's what it is. Can we honestly believe anything that MSLSD says anymore? It's a rhetorical question. Obviously, I know the answer, and I know that the amazingly intelligent audience of this radio show also knows the answer. But it's amazing because after this clip, I'm going to play you some audio from one of Ed Schultz's guests who comes on his show, and it's kind of a hilarious reaction. So anyway, again, I'll finish playing this clip and play it again in entirety and do analysis. All right, let's continue on. I don't think the IRS needs to apologize for anything. Okay, so first he doubles down. I'm going to play this clip for you again because this is how I translated it. First he doubles down and kind of starts to wave on his comments as the angry steam of social media is coming in. And then he just says, oh, screw it. I don't care. I'm going to go back to this narrative. I'm going to go back to my true narrative. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why MSLSD has no viewership anymore. Let's take a listen again. And I promise I won't interrupt in this clip. So, anyway, let's take a listen and then I'll do a full analysis.
I mean, there's a reason why the IRS came out and said what they said. Because somebody inside said, hey, wait a minute, all right? We got to police ourselves a little bit about how we're doing this. And the answer that professionally came back from some of the employees in the IRS was, well, we've got this new category because of Citizens United. We've got new groups propping up. So all we did was categorize them, and we did one group, then we started doing another one. And on the surface, it looks like we're really going after them. What the IRS does is that they they categorize like small businesses, big corporations, individual S-corps, and they have, from my understanding, they have auditors in different sections that deal with different sections of the economy. Divorced couples, couples filing jointly, all that kind of stuff. They just don't say, hey, Charlie, you take this one, I'll grab that one. I mean, there's different sections of the IRS, and they do this for a reason. Well, there's more righty groups out there from Citizens United than there are lefty right now. And so they categorized them, and they did the audits, and now they're coming out apologizing for it. I don't think the IRS ought to apologize for anything. We got enough damn tax cheats out there the way it is. If we didn't have anybody cheating on their taxes, we might not have the problems we got right now.
All right, so really, Ed, you're gonna go down that lane? You're going to go down that lane? Are you serious? there are more righty groups than lefty groups out there. Well, he didn't exactly have a statistic to back that up or anything. I mean, look, now he does bring up the point. Yeah, the IRS does have, different categories like small businesses and multi-corporations and, divorced couples and single couples. And the issue here is not what the IRS does every day. The issue here is how they unfairly were surveilling Tea Party groups. Oh, and don't forget, the AP got audited too, and they were under surveillance too for a while by the IRS. And this was just outrageous. And yeah, Ed Schultz is really the only one I know of for sure who's not defending Bill Maher. I mean, who's defending the IRS on this. Whoops, sorry, I almost compared Bill Maher to the IRS. Did I just do that? Yes. Alright, so later on in Schultz's radio show, this is actually pretty funny. Schultz has a guest on, guy by the name of Sam Stein, and he writes for some publication. I don't really pay attention because, he's a friend of Ed Schultz, and therefore they're all in the same liberal cabal. And so, I've heard of this guy before, but I don't focus on what he's done. So, anyway, so he has this guest on after another commercial break, and the reaction of this guy, guys, what the IRS is doing is actually pretty funny. So let's take a listen to this. This is kind of funny. Folks, I'm gonna take something's come up, and I'll be back. So, this is the first segment of the show, and I'll be back in a little while. So, yes, Andrew, that is what it was, but I'll be back later on this evening. So, this was hour one of the rant day. So, anyway, yeah, that's it for right now. We'll be back later on, though. Alright, folks, that's it for now.